Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Flagship Show Extra Time. We have midweek action in the Championship, and let me just take you through the whole round just so you can get the lay of the land, because even the day of the game now, guys, is really relevant into, kind of when you get into these promotion pitches. So, Ipswich Town host Watford on Wednesday, but a couple of fixtures will jump off of the page on Tuesday. Millwall versus Leicester City, Southampton versus Coventry, and Leeds United versus Sunderland. All of those games happen on Tuesday night. So we are going to know exactly what the top three have done. Three of the top four, excuse me. That was a Sloydian frip, wasn't it? Have done going into Wednesday when we go to the Watford game. Dave, is that good or bad? The rest of the top three playing the day before. You're going to tell me it's good if they don't win.
Yeah, obviously it is, but no, if they all win, it's bad, isn't it? That really heaps. Well, not they all. Certainly, if Leeds and Leicester win, that heaps the pressure on that Watford game, doesn't it? So, let's hope at least one of the two has some sort of slip up, and we're not looking at they both don't gather 3 points on Tuesday night.
Oh, goodness me. So, Craig, Watford are, like Norwich, a year two parachute team, and it has been a little bit of a basket case over the years with the famed Pozzo ownership and their predilection for removing managers very quickly. Obviously, they came down with the year one parachute payment last year and looked like they turned over a new leaf when they took a manager called Rob Edwards from Forest Green, who'd just been promoted from League Two, and they were going to give him a chance and back him. He got sacked in September, I think. Maybe it was October. Maybe I'm being unfair. Of course, I mean, people say, can you imagine that? Obviously, we supported a football club that finished bottom in 2019 while our great rivals finished top. So the idea of losing your manager and your great rivals getting promoted, I can think of something worse than that. But that's what happened as Rob Edwards went off to Luton. And then we got, can I remember all these? Slaven Bilic, didn't we? And Chris Wilder did the end of the season.
Forgot that one,
didn't you? Hey, Big Val Ishmael of Barnsley fame and West Brom for a cup of coffee took over, Craig. We all expected, and I'll be quite honest about this, I bloody love teams that just play long ball when everyone else is trying to. I think it's brilliant for the league to have someone like that. So I thought, here we go. And especially at a club like Watford, where their greatest success came under maybe the greatest direct football manager that we've had in this country, in Graham Taylor. He didn't do it. And he's knocking the ball around the back. And then they give him a new contract. And then there's a bad run. And Watford are kind of stinking it out in the middle of the table. And Big Val has been sacked. And now Tom Cleverley, who was there for years, there's a very good article, I forget who the Watford journalist is, about the toxicity, let's just say, of the Watford dressing room that Tom Cleverley was a member of for a long, long time. So maybe he can step out of that, Craig, and be able to ensure a better culture in terms of the relations between players and managers. But he's now the manager, and Watford, if I bring the Championship table up, are in 14th in kind of beachland, which does bode well, Craig. You want to face teams on the beach, but I hear every theory at this time of season. Oh, you don't want to play anyone in the bottom six. They'll be fighting for their lives. And then it's like, well, of course you want to play people in the bottom six. They're rubbish. That's why they're in the bottom six. And then you don't want to play people in the top six. Oh, but they could be nervous. You might have a chance. They might play stiff. Or you just want to play people on the beach. But they might play without the shackles, Craig. So what the hell do you make of a game against Watford, who clearly have good players left over from the Premier League and the parachute era, but in a bit of a holding pattern with an interim manager on the beach?
Yeah. Can I just say, there's no easy games in the Championship, Ben. Start it off there. No, you're absolutely right.
What about us at 12:30?
Apart from Sunderland at home, maybe.
At 12:30.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's quite interesting actually. The Ismail thing just fascinated me in that, as you said, they gave him a new contract, and you thought, well, at last, there's a bit of stability, a bit of sensibility around the place. Going to give a guy a chance, a couple of years to just get his team in, get them playing. But then, as you said again, they were sort of neither one thing or the other. They were sort of falling between two stools. They didn't know what to do, and it was like that when we played them away. I went there, and you just didn't get any sense of what sort of
bits of it were good.
Team they were. Yeah, they were, because they've got Premier League players, as you say. Very often they've got good players, so bits of it are going to be good. But you couldn't really work out what they were trying to do, and obviously that the confusion then went through the team. And yeah, it's an interesting appointment, shall we say, or an interesting fallback in that they've gone for what you'd probably see as a temporary solution, sticking plaster until the end of the season, as they are one of the very few teams in the league at the moment who don't look like they're going to be troubling top or bottom. And is he, probably a question for you really, Ben, is he in an audition, do you think? Is he a realistic?
He fancies it, yeah.
Is it a realistic appointment, do you think? From Watford's owner's perspective, though, would they see it as a realistic appointment, given the appointments they've made previously?
Well, he knows the club, he knows the deal. There's an easy out if they do want to sack him. Oh, we brought him through and we gave him the chance and blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, I don't see why he wouldn't get it if he has a good end to the season. Dave, with these teams in a bit of a holding pattern, surely they're fragile, aren't they? If they go behind, given there's kind of little to play for, and as Craig points out, the manager might not be the manager in a month's time.
Yeah, I know a Watford fan. A very good friend of mine's a Watford fan. Who you met actually
Elton,
at Watford.
Yeah.
Guy with a wig.
Yeah, stubby little fingers. Yeah.
yeah. Who? So look, they're like, well, and he said, look, the fans are really on side with Cleverley for once, as an appointment. I think they were pretty much on side with Rob. I think they were quite excited about Rob Edwards. I know they were. Ismail, I think, took time to perhaps get used to, but perhaps that was always going to end one way. So I think they're quite well. They're really well behind Cleverley. What they don't want is what my friend said. They really don't want is that, because they're so behind Cleverley, if he still gets the job and next season, what they don't want is Cleverley to have a bad run and be sacked and leave that bad taste. They don't want that. So I think my mate's thought is that, yeah, great. The crowd of the fans are behind Cleverley. He's one of them. Well, obviously, we're not originally Man United, but one of them. Yeah. If he can stabilise things till the end of the season, brilliant, and then bring someone else in. That was my mate's take on it. And as you said, they're 14th, 9th. I think they're 9 points off the bottom three, 16 points off the playoffs. So they're just stuck. So
there or thereabouts, to use a diamondism. When
there or thereabouts. Yeah. Look, I watched them play against Leeds the other week, and admittedly that was at home, but for the first hour or so, I thought they were very good, really, really good. Yeah, things perhaps moved on since then. I mean, incidentally, they haven't been beaten under Cleverley. I think they've won
against West Brom as well.
One through three, two up against West Brom. Again, and they've got some flair players who I quite like. Perhaps we'll get onto that. But obviously, Dennis scored a great goal against Leeds. We know he's got that in his locker. He's had a bit of a odd sort of career, hasn't he? Sort of, signed by Watford, had a really good spell in the Premier. I think he might have even been Premier Player of the Month at one time, for 1 month back in 21, and then obviously sold to Forest, loaned out to
Mr. Marianakis.
some loaned out to some club I never even heard of in Turkey, not a Galatasaray or anyone like that, Besiktas or anyone. And then obviously back at Watford in the January window on loan. I think he's got four goals I think. Wow. But he's got some talent. Also like Asprilla as well, but again, according to my mate, got it all, got a lot of flair, but a bit light sometimes in games, a little bit lightweight, but certainly got it in his locker. So I think it'll be Watford, it could be a fairly open game. As you said, they got really nothing to play for, so it could go either way. That one could play with absolute full out open, play with abandon, and we can score a few, but be an interesting game, I think.
Lightweight, Craig. would not describe the back three that they played in the last game with Wesley Hoy, who obviously did make that big mistake in the game at the Vic for the goal by Sam Morsey. Francisco Sierralta is a South American unit as well. Very good in the promotion season in a back four, though, under Cisco Munoz, who stank the place out at Hillsborough earlier in the season. Ryan Porteous has been a decent pick. I think he came down from Scotland, didn't he? Like the fullbacks, Craig. Jamal Lewis obviously got promoted with Norwich and then went for big money up to Newcastle. Couldn't even make their squad after the Saudi money came in, and maybe even before that, actually. And Ryan Andrews, I really like a lot. That's a youngster that they've brought through. Edu Kayembe and Tom Deli Bashiru in central midfield. And I think Dave picked out the key danger is, Bayo's got a bit of size, but probably needs the chance to be quite a high XG to take it. Cue him rattling one in from 30 yards now. But I think it's the individual quality of Emmanuel Dennis and Yasser Asprilla that's probably the concern if you were going to pick one.
Yeah, it is. But then, as we've said, they're hot and cold. You catch them on the good day, they're going to muscle past a couple of defenders and slam one in. You catch them on probably a more regular off day, and they're not. It's quite interesting you talk about Lewis there. He was one of their better players in the home game. He actually got Brandon Williams started and got hauled off at half time, didn't he, in that one? And it was put down to a knock on his knee. Well, he's probably twisted blood, I think, is probably the other ailment he was suffering from that day, because he was getting a bit of a torrid time down there. So they play 3-4-3 or 3-4-1-2. That seems to be the Cleverley way the last 3 or 4 games that he's had. It'd just be nice, wouldn't it, that they do play with a bit of abandon, bit of freedom, and leave us with a bit of space, which we potentially didn't have at the weekend against Norwich for our wider players to run into. We'll talk about our setup and potential changes in a bit, but it was just nice to have a match where a few of our guys can spread their legs, open their legs a bit. I was going to say, open their legs and show us their class. Well,
Dave, I definitely agree with Craig's point there that you're not going to have the intensity of an East Anglian derby and a team, essentially, as Craig said on the Blue Monday podcast, playing tournament football for a game. That's not going to happen, which, fingers crossed, maybe it's a confirmation bias, surely suits us, doesn't it?
I think so. Yeah, no, I absolutely think so. I was on the Watford Do Not Scratch Your Eyes podcast with the guys, I think on Thursday pre-record, and they were saying they just never know what you're going to get. They're pretty inconsistent, but as we said, there's certainly some flair players and certainly some individuality there. Team
individuality, it's a management style.
I think not easy, but if they come and they're open, then it should suit us, shouldn't it?
Right. We've already mentioned this in terms of the scheduling and the fact that Ipswich Town, Craig, have no travel, 2 home games, and then a fortnight after the Middlesbrough game. So any talk of resting is kind of redundant. I know they want to manage the players' load over a 3-game week, and we've obviously just come off the Easter double header. But team-wise, it may not even be load sort of management and fitness. What are you thinking? And I'll put the team that started against Norwich. What potential things could Kieran McKenna try if he's not just going to play his best 11, which is probably unchanged?
Well, as we spoke about on the flagship in regards to the Norwich match, we did look tired, and I don't think, even though we've got an extra day to recuperate, I just think and it's out of character for McKenna. I just wonder whether he's going to drop in 2 or 3 players just to give us a little bit of a spark in and around that team. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Twanzebe swapped for Clark, just to give us, Twanzebe wasn't great against Norwich. Clark's been fine when he's been coming on, and gives us a bit more room for going forward. You would think maybe Luongo would step out. I know we say every week that if he's anything like fit, he'll play, but his performances probably have been tailing off in the last few games, and he is the one that's always replaced. Then I suppose it's whether you put Travis or Taylor in. You would think Taylor, from a more of an attacking positive perspective, he may come in alongside Morsey. I don't think you can do much about Davis, even though the poor guy looks a little bit tired at the moment, because you're just going to have to use him as much as you can do. I don't think even Cameron Humphreys is really an option. He wasn't on the bench, I don't believe, on Saturday, so I don't think that's an option. And then in the three behind,
Craig, that you can bring out in game and use Harry Clark at left back.
Yeah, very possibly. I think the three behind the strikers where you might see a couple of changes, because I don't think any of Broadhead, Chaplin and Hutchinson did too much to warrant another start, but obviously not going to make any sweeping changes and change the whole three. You do wonder whether Hutchinson might move in the middle, is it in a 10 instead of Chaplin? I wouldn't be surprised. And then you can freshen up with Sarmiento. Broadhead, I know you're a fan, Ben, and he's a good player at home, but again, his performances of late haven't been spectacular. I don't know. There's a few questions that need to be answered, and then the strike. I don't think Moore looked particularly unfit, to be fair, on Saturday. I just think his touch and his general play was off. So I would imagine he will start. It's just that three. I wouldn't be surprised if there are two changes in that three. Maybe Chaplin and Broadhead will drop out. Hutchinson will move across, and we'll see two different wide players in there.
You mentioned earlier, perhaps the threat in the away game from Jamal Lewis. Do you see perhaps throwing another curve one in? Well, was it that curve one? Maybe even a Jackson start wide right.
Yeah, very possible to help out Clark. Yeah,
to counter that maybe,
and then also to with his pace to
get us up the pitch. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dave, what do you like in central midfield and on the wings?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if Sarmiento comes in for Broadhead. I thought Sarmiento did look at the subs yesterday. He certainly looked the liveliest and one that someone that might well spark something. I agree with Craig there. I'd have Clark in, I think, for Twanzebe. And yeah, Craig's spot on there. I think Davis just looks spent. Whether he is still carrying some sort of knock, some sort of injury.
He's only got to get through another two games.
No. He'll play. I mean, if he's good to play, whether it's 95%, he'll play. No doubt about that. I agree. Moore will start if he's fit. He'll start it. And Craig's right. His touch was just. Do you know what? Yesterday, and I know we moved on from yesterday. We just made bad decisions when we did get the ball, and when we did get the ball in any sort of advanced areas yesterday, our decision making was poor, wasn't it? As well. But anyway, enough of that. I just singled him out for that. I would, and like you say, I'd be surprised if Luongo starts. I'd have thought a Taylor in there, but you never know. Maybe Travis.
Okay, so with the massive caveat that these two lads do not know what happened in the Tuesday night games, I'm about to ask them to make a prediction for a Wednesday night game. Craig, how's this one playing out?
Well, as we said in the flagship, this is a crucial week, and of the 5 remaining games, 3 of them at home, and we've got to win all 3 home games really to stave off any sort of challenge from Leeds, who will always work on the pessimistic assumption that they're going to win every game. So I think we have to look to win, and I think we will win. I'd say we're going to win 2-0.
Dave?
Well, I've done this prediction. I was on the Watford pod, as I said earlier, and I hate to say it, guys, nerve shredding and all that. I went for another 3-2 home win. Why not?
Oh my God! What are you doing?
Why not?
What did you guys? Jesus
there was all
Christ.
sorts of scores flying around. I mean, Jarvis, the wonderfully named Jarvis Cocker Spaniel. He chose a 5-4. So I mean, can we all take that, a 5-4 for Christ's sake?
No.
I did say to the guys on the pod, I said, well, do you know what? We'd probably do that result because it's probably the only scoreline we haven't had. Only our sensible scoreline we haven't had this season. So Jarvis the Cocker Spaniel went for a 5-4, but I must admit I went through a 3-2.
Oh, brilliant stuff, guys. Get your predictions down there in the comments, preferably before the game. And we are notified on the back end on YouTube if you edit your comments. We know, we can see. Guys, do check out Dave on the Do Not Scratch Your Eyes podcast as well if you want a little bit more on Watford. And if you want even more, We'll likely be about in some way, shape, form, or fashion on Wednesday night, but we will definitely be about. It is the return of the likely lads. Rich and Seb will be back from Vegas in the hot seat.
Las Vegas.
For just singing Viva Las Vegas in the background, tremendous stuff. For the preview show, and we might cover Watford on that for the Middlesbrough game. Thick and fast, pivotal and crucial. Thank you for listening to the Flagship Show Extra Time.